Hello everyone, today I'm working on this SD35. It's an Atlas and it's in pretty good shape to begin with. I sure had a nice trip to Quebec City, but it took away from my time to do model railroading. So this is a little bit dusty, but overall everything's there. The handrails are there. Sometimes these little handrails, they can get lost and the horn can come off. So very good shape. It's got the Rapido type couplers. I think I am gonna upgrade it to micro trains. I've got everything handy. You know, when you're custom painting, you often want to have a paint scheme that is simple. For example, this early Pennsylvania is very simple. If you like Penn Central, that also is very simple. So just these little decals. And these are legible under magnification. For example, this says danger 600 volts. The same here, the same here. This one says fire extinguisher, water, 600 volts, 600 volts. This one here, I saw it many times in pictures, but I could not read it. I couldn't figure it out what it was all about. But it was actually just says radio or radio equipped, but it just says radio. So that's really neat. So really all it needs is a good cleaning. I'm just going to use the box method to remove the shell. Pretty easy. Actually did. I saw that on YouTube, and I'll watch a few YouTube videos sometimes about model railroading. The best channels, the three best channels is Mike Pfeiffer. He's awesome, and Daniel Cordopassi is awesome, and those are most of the guys that I look up to. And then I'm going to start by cleaning this in the with my toothbrush and some dish soap. The shell also, it's got a little dust. It's not bad, but still a little here and around the horn. So I'm going to clean that up with my toothbrush and some dish soap. I'm going to give it plenty of time to dry while I'm working on the drive. That sure helps. The drive system looks great, although it's got a few miles on it. It is time to do the overhaul. So I'll just use the box to keep track of my parts. That will be great. This is the DCC friendly frame. So you can switch it to DCC. Just replace this board here. You have to crack it open to do that. These, they don't have an arrow, so I'm going to take note of the orientation of it. I had a subscriber ask me a question about that for a GP35. Basically, you just have to wiggle them, switch them 180, see which way is the best. On these, their gearbox is bigger on this side, the side towards the middle. So they won't fit that way at all. Well, maybe a little bit, but you will know for sure that you got it wrong. The screw is stuck in there a little bit. That's not the end of the world. You just have to basically unscrew it until it comes out. See if I can make it look easy. Yeah, Of course, it won't be too easy. So I'll work on that off camera. I washed the motor cradle. I never do it. I never do that usually. But today it felt like it had sand on it. So I don't know, maybe it's from scenery, or sometimes people use weathering powder. And that, not that it hurts the engine, but they feel kind of sandy. So I'll put it back exactly the way I found it. And then I'm going to wash the two frame halves. The contact strip, they can take a little water. I just clean them like that with my finger. But they do feel a little bit sandy. So I think everything's going to get cleaned and washed from now on. Squeaky clean now. That sure feels good. And then I think usually I have to choose between doing the worm gears or the trucks. I think I'm going to focus on the trucks. They actually don't look that bad, eh? You can test for friction. These seem to be good. So we'll just remove the side frames. I got some cat hair on my hand. Pets are cute, but they do shed a lot of hair. So one good reason to watch my channel, because you may need to do that. There's a little bit of hair in here. It's not horrible. It's not horrible, but since I have it out, may as well clean it. Let's check the journals. There's a little bit of stuff here. Not too sure what that is. It's not enough to keep it from running, but I do clean all this stuff out. Yeah, it's not bad. You can see the spacing between the axle and the shaft is a little bit different here. When I see that, I go ahead and whip out the old Microtrains height gauge. This one is old enough that it still says KD on it. They had back in the day, they had a line of KD products for N scale. Then they switched the name to Microtrains. So we're gonna clean everything. But the wheels actually probably ran good this engine before. It's not bad. It's just the case that since I have it apart, may as well take care of it. But I think the wheels are a little bit dirty. I'm not wasting my time here. I know it's gonna benefit from that. So I do both. I clean them with my rag, and I will clean them with my toothbrush. There's some more stuff in here. It doesn't want to come with the screwdriver, but probably with the toothbrush it's going to come right out. Yeah. So actually I clean them with the toothbrush and with my rag, and then I'll re-gauge them, and then I'll put them back in their gearbox. That is the best way to do it. But that is really beautiful. I'm going to do the other four wheels off camera. So I cleaned up everything. That feels really good, actually. That is a good feeling. So the wheels with my rag and with the dish soap. Now I'm ready to put everything back together. But before before I do, I am gonna check the gauge. Just to be sure. This one actually a little bit narrow. So I'm just gonna whiten it just a little bit. You want it to fit in the gauge, but to fit almost tight, because the wheels are a little wider than the prototype. So they can wiggle about on the track. That helps you take curves. I mean, you can vary this maybe 1 or 2%, and it won't affect the way the train rides too much. But since I have it in my hand, I'm gonna aim for perfection. I'll show you how that works in relation to the track. See, the wheels are wider than a real train's, but even though they have a gap, they still ride on the track. But this slack here allows you to take curves much easier, and it lines up the gear perfectly with the other gears in the gearbox. So you want this. It will line up with the gears perfectly, and it will line up with the track perfectly. That's worth a try, you know, if you want to do some noise reduction. I'm not 100% sure it's going to make a big difference, but you've got nothing to lose. Yeah, if you're trying to do a noise reduction on your engines, I would try that. It can't hurt. And I only put slack on the side with the gear. This one I want it tight, and this one I want it to have the little slack. That's what I want. And that's gonna be awesome. And then the little contact plate here has two little holes that line up with these, and of course make sure you put your axles in the bearings where they're supposed to go. I do not use oil on this. I'm really happy with just having them go dry. And I have not found that it makes any difference to put oil. In fact, the oil will attract a lot of dust and pet hair. So I'm just make sure everything's lined up properly. I check it with my finger, and then I'll bring in the side frames. That should snap. Check it with your finger, you should feel no interference whatsoever. But that feels great. Alright, I'll do the other one off camera. I did the exact same thing for the other side. Now I'm going to do the worm gears. I'm going to wash them again with some dish soap and my toothbrush. They weren't really badly dirty, but I still want to take advantage of having all the tools out. So all you need is one drop. And that's it. You're good to go. I'm gonna put everything back together now. So the motor, I'll just start it, and then I'll install my worm gears. So that fit in just right. This is not a race. If you feel getting impatient, that should be your mantra, you know. It's not a race. I have plenty of time. If you start telling yourself, I have 5 minutes, then I gotta go to work, or for whatever reason, then you get really stressed out. So as you can see, the two leads for the motor, they fit into that box. Basically, you can't screw it up. I mean, you could if you really tried, but so you can feel it going into its prongs. That actually looks very good. At that point, I always try it on the bench just to see if it's rubbing against anything. Okay, put my leads up to the top. So that sounds very good actually. I'm going to give it just a bit more voltage. That's going to allow me to see if it's rubbing. So it's nice and quiet. Perfect. It's a simple mechanism, but effective. I've got to put the little circuit board first. These I don't wash with water. I don't take a chance because it's electronic stuff. But you gotta make sure your two prongs are lined up properly with the two pads. That I can test that out in 2 seconds. Yeah, I always test it out to make sure. So now I have to get the engine cradle in there and the top. That looks great actually. So yeah, I tested again just to make sure everything's ship shape. Then I can put my two trucks. There's no arrow, but you can see the tower on the back is bigger than the tower in the front. You can tell with the proportion of the gearbox which way it goes. Fits right in there. And then the other one, same thing. Fits right in there also. So then I will just tighten the two screws. Everything's coming together. So these don't have to be very tight. Just hand tight. And then check your trucks. Make sure everything's nice and movable. Also check check that the contact strip is touching the top of the contact strip on the trucks. Make sure these are lined up properly. I suppose the fuel tank can go back at this time, eh? The filler neck, it goes towards the cap, so I had it on backwards really. So there, that looks pretty good. The best way to know if it's put together right is to go test it on the track. So let's do that. Oh my god, it's such a good runner. Look at that, nice and slow. It's not using too much voltage. It's fantastic. And try the other direction. So that's an Atlas, it's not a Kato, but boy, that makes the grade. Nice and slow. Look at that. And quiet too. Alright, I have to do a little bit of work on the shell though. If you have been paying attention, you noticed probably that it's unnumbered. So SD35 were numbered from 6,000 to 6,039. And also I want to change out the couplers. So these, actually, if I'm lucky, I can use this retainer here to hold on to my my Katie or Microtrains couplers. So I'm going to keep the retainer around. If it works, that will be good. And then the same for here, you just spray a little bit on the side. This should come right out. Yep, I had a good trip to Quebec City. It just took away some of my time, so video's a little bit shorter this week. I'm gonna find my my Microtrain couplers. These are the couplers that I use, and you have to put them together. But these operate amazing. These are amazingly good couplers to operate. So that would be the bottom plate. I keep that close by because you need them. The thing that I keep by is my coupler gauge, because I have a tendency to put them in backwards. So I keep the coupler gauge, and that keeps me on the straight and narrow, so that I don't mess up too much. So you know, in theory, I'm over 1,000 subs, so thank you everyone for that. So in theory, I should be monetized, but in order to get approved by AdSense, I have to have a website. Now, I never thought about that before. And I have to put the trip in. I put it in correctly. I want it to be a little higher than low. So I need to have a website so that I can generate advertising revenue for AdSense. And so I did start my website. It's watchtrainsnow.com. So if you guys want to help me out, just go on there, click a couple of pages, have a look, and that's going to help me out tremendously. Also, I'll have this engine for sale on there if you're interested. But just go in and click a couple of pages. It creates traffic, and that's going to help me get monetized, or actually receive money. And then that's going to help me to get more videos made. I'm not trying to be a millionaire with the channel, but if it could offset some of the cost for the videos, that would be awesome. Like I said last week, don't be intimidated by these. Once you do a couple, you get into the beat of it. I always check that I have it on the right side. Once you do a couple, you get into the beat of it, and it becomes easier. This is the tough part, is that little spring. It's got a tendency to basically walk away on you. But it can be done. I've done it before. Somebody commented I have a lot of patience. P-A-T-I-T-E-N-S. That's why they call me the train doctor, because I have a lot of patience. I'm gonna keep doing this off camera. See, now I told you this was easy. It may not be obvious, but I am having a good time working on those. If I wasn't, I would just buy them ready-made. If I work under magnification, it makes it easier. but because I want to show you guys, I can hardly see what I'm doing. But yeah, it's in there. So I'll just do the second one. It's the exact same process. The second one, I did it under magnification. Only took me about 30 seconds. Like I said before, if you keep practicing, it gets easier. Let's just take a look at how these fit in there. Now you could get them to stay in there. I've done it with glue before, but I don't know if there would be room for one of these spacers. That looks pretty good, actually. Well, there might be a little room for the spacer. No, there isn't any room, so these fit right there. Let me just see if I can get it to, if I can get the retainer to hold it up there. That would be good. If I can get that done, it looks really professional, like it was meant to be there. So these spacers, they just go in there. It will hold my my coupler if I'm lucky. I've done this before, where I got the original spacer to go in there and hold the coupler. Is that gonna work? I'll have to remove this little pin right here, but it's gonna work. That's gonna be good enough. End scale is small, so you have to give yourself some time to get this done. Perfect. So that looks very professional. I super like the way this looks, the brown and the Brunswick green. Very much like the way they work together. So you do the exact same for the back one. Yeah, so that hits the spot. So if you've been paying attention, I have to number it now. So let me get my decals. I like to use a micro scale. So these are super nice. I like working with them. I found some numbers that were consecutive. So that's going to make it a lot easier. Sometimes I put a little water on the shell that helps slide the decals. The water helps the water slide decals slide. I also found some for the number boards that were consecutive, so that makes it a lot easier for the number boards. There, that looks much better. I'm gonna add just a little bit of microsol to help it set. All that's left to do is put the shell back on. And now it's time to run some trains. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. I certainly had fun making it for you. See you soon.